Welcome back to Killer Fun, where we explore the intersection of crime and entertainment every other week. I'm Christy.
And I'm Jackie.
And we're so glad that you're back with us today. Today, we are talking about the Instigators. Jackie, there has got to be a better way to get $32,480.
You'd think.
I would think. I think there's got to be a better way than involving yourself in this level of ineptitude.
I don't even know how he got invited to this party.
I don't either. That was just a big question mark.
Mm-hmm. There was a lot of question marks.
There were, and you're just supposed to roll with it because there are parts of this movie that are fun.
Yes. This is like, I kept looking. I was like, Adam Sandler has to be a writer or a producer because it feels like that level of a movie where they're just not going to plug a whole lot of holes because it's just supposed to be fun.
Uh-huh.
And so you're supposed to kind of roll with some things. It's an hour and 40 minutes. It's really short.
Yeah.
It's just digestible.
Yeah. But see, it wasn't quite fun enough to not answer some of those questions.
Yeah, there were some questions that I was like, There were scenes that I misunderstood.
Okay.
Like, for instance, I know we've got thoughts later. So maybe cut and paste. But this is my thought. I thought that when Casey Affleck and Matt Damon saw each other for the first time in the movie, I thought they knew each other.
Yeah, me too. Because they
I'm
literally knew each other.
It looked like there was beef.
Yeah, like they were.
But I don't think they were supposed to have known each other.
I don't think they were supposed to have known each other.
Yeah. Okay. Well, more thoughts later on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about who's in it, I guess.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
First, the cast. Mm-hmm. So Matt Damon is Rory, the older. He's 53. He's
just older than his best friend's little brother.
Yes.
Casey Affleck.
Not by a lot. So, yeah, he's new to heist. He's divorced, former Marine. Of course, Matt Damon's been in a zillion things. Talented Mr. Ripley that we've talked about before.
Oh, yes.
I didn't know he had his acting debut in Mystic Pizza.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't remember that.
I love Mystic Pizza is so good. Mm-hmm. I don't mean like the pizza. The movie. Right. It's so good.
Yeah. Of course, he was in Oppenheimer recently. A favorite of both yours and mine, I believe, The Martian.
Oh, yes. I love The Martian.
I mean, I loved
he's
the
done
book.
A lot, but I loved The Martian.
I loved the book. I loved the movie. It was all very fun. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I love this nerd stuff. Let's do it. And then Casey Affleck, as we mentioned, is Cobby, a loudmouth career criminal. Casey Affleck is Ben Affleck's younger brother. And, of course, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck are famously best friends.
Yes. Matt Damon had his little debut, right?
Uh-huh.
But really, the two of them with Good Will Hunting.
Right.
I mean,
yes.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Casey Affleck was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for the assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford. Mm-hmm. He was also in Manchester by the Sea, Interstellar. He was also in Oppenheimer. Mm-hmm. Then we have Hong Chow as Dr. Donna Rivera, Rory's psychiatrist, therapist person. I was like, she looks so familiar. Why does she look familiar?
Thank you. She does.
She was in Downsizing with Matt Damon, which I don't know if you ever saw.
No, but I think I knew her from The Night Agent that we watched.
Okay, right. And then she was in The Watchmen and The Menu.
Oh, yes, The Menu.
The Menu, which we've talked about on the show.
We talked about that, too.
Yeah. So I think I most recognized her, though, from Downsizing, which I believe I was the only one. I was one of the only people that watched it. Hardly any people. I know. I don't think you watched it. My husband didn't watch it. I thought it was fine for exactly what it was.
It was fine.
It was one of those, I was happy to watch it on streaming. It was enjoyable enough. It had an interesting story where basically they shrunk people down so that they could live really cheaply, and
that's a different take of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
It was kind of adorable.
Okay.
And would I be like, you have to go watch this movie? No. Was it enjoyable? Yes. It was fun. Right.
Well, if I ever see it playing on syndication on TV,
There you go.
I'll
You'll
click
pop
it.
it on. Yeah. Paul Walter Hauser was Booch, henchman. He was
Yeah.
in Blackbird.
Yes.
That we've talked about on the show. Michael Stuhlbarg is, I just called him Mr. B, or the boss, because they hardly said his name at
Yeah,
all.
right.
He's the one who's orchestrating the heists and ends up hiring Rory and Cobby. He was in Your Honor. He's been in a zillion things, Boardwalk Empire, all kinds of stuff.
yes.
Ving Rhames is Frank Toomey from the Mission Impossible movies.
Yes.
So he's the detective that the mayor gets to track down Rory and Cobby. He's also in Pulp Fiction, which is probably where people in their 40s would be like, hey, hey, that guy. Like,
Yeah, that guy.
That
Although
guy.
Mission Impossible is what pops in my head first.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think I just liked his character.
Uh-huh.
He was so fun.
Sure.
You know?
And then Ron Perlman is the corrupt mayor, Misselli, Hellboy, Sons of Anarchy.
He's in so much.
Don't Look Up. Yeah. It's such a fun cast. And they do fine on some level. All of them have some level of doing just fine and being enjoyable in this movie. And still somehow it didn't work very well.
It was just, Because I can't say,
Yeah, right.
I'm not even sure.
Would I recommend anybody to watch this movie? Probably not.
I
Am I
almost-
mad that I watched it? No.
I almost want to watch it again and see if there's parts that maybe if there's funnies that I sort of overlooked that make it. I feel like I missed something.
Well, there were parts that were legitimately funny.
Oh, yeah,
and I'm
for
like,
sure.
those parts are fun. Why can't we have more of that?
Well, and that's what I'm wondering. Did I miss something? Because I think when I watched it, a bit distracting. Had to pause.
Okay.
Had to do some things. I'm wondering if it's far more of a giggle fest,
Okay.
front to back, especially if you know what's about to happen. You know, there's some movies like that. Okay, like Tropic
Right.
Thunder. First time I watched Tropic Thunder. Now, my husband thought it was freaking hysterical the first time, and I thought it was just a little lacking. I just
Okay.
thought it was it was funny. I giggled at parts. It was and so I wasn't enthused to watch it again.
Okay.
Right? Because I thought it was kind of disappointing or whatever. And then I watched it again,
And you enjoyed it a lot more.
and it was really funny. Then we watched it a third time. Now it's part of our entire fabric.
That's right. It's the zeitgeist of your family.
So
Yes.
I'm I wonder if there's hidden potential in the Instigators.
I hope so. I hope I'm just missing something. The studio that made it is Artist Equity. It's an artist-led studio. Interestingly, co-founded by Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. And Jerry Cardinal, who's of Redbird Capital. I guess the money.
Oh, yeah, probably.
And it's an Apple TV original film.
Yes.
So they've been kind of hit and miss.
They are.
Big hit with Coda over COVID. It never got a theatrical release, but it did win 3 Academy Awards. You know, we had Killers of the Flower Moon won 9 Academy Awards just earlier this year for the 2023 calendar year. We have the Instigators that it did get a theatrical release, but only for a week.
Okay.
So it released in theaters August 2nd and then was straight to streaming by design August 9th.
Okay.
So, and that, I wonder that too, if it were in the movie theater, would it be easier to just, because the movie theater requires a little more focus and it gives you a little bit more of an immersion.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe. I don't know.
I
It was
either.
big budget for, these scenes, these crash scenes, all that stuff was huge. It was,
Right. They did not skimp on that.
No.
So, I don't know. It's interesting. Let's recap it. Rory, as I mentioned, is an ex-Marine. He's sad, troubled, desperate, but in kind of a subdued way. Cobby is an ex-con and he's more verbose in his disillusionment of his life. Whatever the motivations, need or greed, there's a heist about to happen. I guess at least it's against a corrupt mayor. I mean, can we root for them because the guy they're stealing from is corrupt? I don't know. I don't know. It's like, do two wrongs make a right? But also, I'm not sad that the mayor's getting robbed. I don't know. They bring a therapist along for the ride, and which is kind of a fun kind of twist for what might be kind of a played out plot overall.
A bit.
Yeah.
That's it?
That's it. That's my recap.
Oh my God.
I'm not even going, because we're going to get to like
so much of it. Yeah.
Some of the nitty gritty here.
True.
And like,
True.
I mean, go watch it, read a recap, whatever. I had thoughts. Roy starts the movie talking to his therapist. And I think this is a nod to the first episode of The Sopranos.
Okay.
Because that's exactly how The Sopranos starts, is Tony Soprano sitting in a therapist office.
Okay.
So I'm like, oh, that's kind of fun.
That's funny.
I mean, again, it's been done.
Yeah.
But also fun nod.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So the therapist asks Roy if he's a danger to himself, and he says, not today. I'm like, well, aren't we all dangerous to ourselves at some point, whether intentionally or unintentionally?
True. True.
I mean, maybe we're not mortally dangerous to ourselves.
Which is what she's asking.
Which is, of course, what she's asking.
I
but
apprecited his honest response.
Right, exactly.
Not
I don't want
today.
to get you in trouble. Not today.
Not today.
And I don't want to tell you anything that's going to put you in a bad spot.
Yeah.
Why does a bakery need to be open 24 hours?
Okay. I will say, 24 hours is a little, but a lot of bakeries, because they bake overnight.
Right.
So that
Right.
because of the way that it works.
Right. Yeah. So people are getting there at midnight to 2 a.m. to start baking.
Right.
Uh-huh.
And if they stay up a little later because they might have dessert sort of pastries, because it wasn't just a bakery.
Right.
It was like, maybe I could see it.
Uh-huh.
Also,
It was
a little suspicious.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. Okay, we're going to talk more about this in a little bit, but runoff elections, I don't think that term means what they think it means in the confines of this movie.
Uh-oh. Wait, say more?
I'll say more about it in a little while.
Okay.
Because we're going to talk about like when runoff elections happen in places. And I think that they don't quite understand what it means in the context of maybe that was not the thing they should have been talking about.
Okay. I'm so curious. Okay. I can't wait. Okay.
All right. So there's the after party for the mayoral candidate that they're going to rob, right? And there's a cover of 500. And they don't say 500 what? Is it $500? $500,000? I don't know. But the stacks of cash that they have in these envelopes are enormous. And I'm like, maybe it is 500,000 because that seems like too much. But the stacks of cash they bring, are they strippers? Are they bringing ones?
Well, they did.
What's the deal?
Somebody had ones.
So, I mean,
eventually. So wait, they said 500?
Yeah, that's all they said. They didn't say $500. They just said the entry fee is, the cover is 500.
Oh, I thought they said 5,000.
Yeah, no, they said 500. So
They
I'm
said
like
500.
500 what? I'm like, even a stack of $100 bills for $5,000 wouldn't be the like 3 inches thick.
Not bags.
Not bags.
So yeah, maybe they did mean
I don't
500,000.
I don't know. But that seems like too much. I mean, that just seems like I'm asking to be corrupt, to be outed as corrupt.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Gosh, maybe I just corrected it in my head.
That would have been smart because
50,000 actually would not be completely out of the realm.
Right.
50,000.
Right.
Because then remember they ended up having more than they expected.
Right.
And they expected fewer people because it was such a large
right.
cover charge or plate charge. So, maybe I just corrected it in my head and thought it was. I think I thought it was 50,000 because of the bags.
Okay,
but then you're right. Maybe it was 5,000. No, they said 100.
Yeah,
this doesn't make sense.
500. So I'm like, I don't know. Maybe they're paying for a bunch of people in like each bag.
Or
They're
maybe
getting
it
a whole
was
bunch of people.
ones. The guy did have ones.
There was at least one guy with ones, but there was lots of people with big stacks
because
of cash.
remember, he only takes
I was like,
cash.
So funny, right? Yes, and
And
I'm
then
like,
ones are far easy to launder,
right? And 500.
500 ones is a stack.
That would be a huge stack, but also there was a cash bar. So I'm like, if it's $500,000, don't have a cash bar. That's just tacky.
Yeah, no. So maybe it was $500 and they were at ones, and that's what we're supposed to gather.
Yeah,
but it is all ones because of how they have to launder it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Which is why his big safe. Because you don't need that big of a safe.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you don't need...
Not for $100 bills.
No.
If you've ever seen stacks of $10,000 that are made of $100 bills, they're not that big.
They're not that big.
They're just not that big.
Interesting.
Anyway.
Okay.
So Rory takes notes about the, illegal plan, which was so like funny and endearing. But it's a nod to The Wire, evidently.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know, but I also thought, dude, fair.
Like,
I'm not that far off from you in age. I get it. I want to write stuff down.
yeah. But also, don't leave records.
That's right. Got to write it in code, dude.
Yeah, like
if you can remember the code, you probably don't need to write it down. Anyway, Rory and Cobby need better planning or critical thinking skills. Maybe ask why there was only one guy with the armored vehicle. Because that was the first thing that I asked was like, where's the other guy?
Where's the other guy?
Where's the other guy that goes with the armored vehicle? Maybe don't give your exact location to the dangerous criminals who are very disappointed about the heist. There you go. Yeah. So I actually did look this one up, but it wasn't a good enough answer to really talk about later. I was like, can you even drive a car after the airbags deploy? Like, is it like physically, like, it seems like if the airbags deploy, there should be a mechanism that makes the car not drivable. And it depends on the car.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe not, but they're driving around with like the airbags in their lap, which is like, don't do it. It's so dangerous. Don't do it.
It's not good.
Because it's not good if you get in another accident. It's not good there's all kinds of reasons why it's not good.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
But also don't do crime.
Also don't do crime.
Yeah.
Yes. But you can drive your car home. If it's drivable and the airbags happen to have deployed, but you can drive, because sometimes that happens. You can drive it home.
And some cars won't let you.
Some cars won't.
Some cars won't start. Like if you turn it, like if you leave the engine on, you might be able to drive it home. But once you turn that engine off, a lot of them won't restart. But it's so car specific that I really couldn't talk about it later.
Yeah. But makes sense.
And we'll talk about this one again later also. But the therapist, Dr. Rivera, says that Cobby may have adult disinhibited social engagement disorder. And I was like, is that the technical term for a loudmouth jackass? Don't get me wrong. I liked Cobby just fine. But he
that's
was a lot.
That's the whole, and they made fun of him incessantly about it.
Yeah. Oh, and then if you didn't see it, there is a post-credit scene that was very entertaining. So
yes,
it was amusing.
It was funny.
It was worth watching the movie and then staying for that little bit to get the joke. Yeah. It was filmed on location. Shocker.
Yeah.
It's set in Boston.
Yes, I could see it. I mean,
and Damon and the Afflecks wanted it shot in Boston.
Yes, of course.
So
you can see, I mean, it was recognizable, especially when they had the aerial and they go into the tunnel.
Yes, for sure.
I was like, oh, I've driven that so many times.
Yeah, the exterior, interior of Boston City Hall are there. Of course, a lot of the Boston City Hall stuff had to be sets later on, but they did film at least a little bit in those places. Fenway Park, lots of places were on location. And as far as assistance goes, I don't have anything other than like
Don't do crime.
Don't do crime. I mean,
Yeah, that's our big push today.
yeah, maybe listen to your mental health professional.
Yes.
You know, when you maybe don't abduct them.
Also, there's better ways to get $32,840.
I can't just like make that amount of money appear out of thin air. But if you tell me your situation, I might be able to help you figure out a way to do it. You know, there's all kinds of like debt consolidation or personal loans or like, you know, payment plans or like whatever. There's better ways to get 32 grand than this.
Also, you're a veteran. Go talk to the VA.
There you go. There you go.
So here's how it works. Christy wrecks her search history. Hey, an essay. We promise it's nothing more nefarious than a podcast. To find out what's true, some of the psychological motivations behind the characters' actions, and real-life applications that relate to our topic. I have no idea what Christy decided to look up. Could be the same thing that captured my curiosity or something I never thought of.
Is it true?
Well, clearly no.
I mean, clearly not, because Boston City Hall is still standing.
Yeah, everything is fine.
Everything's fine, but let's talk about some of those locations.
Okay.
We were just mentioning them right before the break. Bova's Bakery is real, and it is 24 hours.
It doesn't surprise me.
No, I mean, I kind of get it. They've been in operation since 1926. They make primarily Italian treats.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's lots of cannolis. They're in a big rivalry with other bakeries in Boston for who has the best cannolis.
And they don't.
Oh, okay.
Because Mike's Pastry
is
the best cannoli on the planet.
Okay, so that is what I read. People either believe Bova's or Mike's have the best cannoli.
I'm a Mike's girl.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can order them
awesome.
online. And they will ship it to you with dry ice, the whole thing.
That's so
now
cool.
you have to actually then fill the cannoli shell, right?
Okay.
But it's so good. Oh. It's so worth it. You don't know, man, until you try it.
Okay.
I used to stand in line in frigid cold weather around the block to get in.
Yep. I did read a lady who said she went to Bova's and went at like 2:30 on a Sunday morning and was like, there was still a line.
There's it's like at all hours.
Yeah.
It's bananas.
But they also have like Italian breads and subs and Sicilian pizzas, as well as all of the treats. They do ship, but as we are recording this, because we are a little ahead at the moment because we've got things going on, they're not shipping right this moment, but by the time this releases, they should be shipping again. So if you really want to try the cannolis and decide for yourself whether Bova's or Mike's is better, and you want to order and you don't live in Boston, you should be able to do that in September of 2024.
Good. And then you can comment and you can tell us that Mike's Pastry was actually indeed better. And yes, absolutely.
There you go. The Squantum Yacht Club. It's real. It used to be called the North Quincy Yacht Club.
And I'm going to have to say something now. We don't say Quincy in Boston.
Oh.
In Massachusetts. It's Quincy.
Okay. Quincy. Okay.
So, for instance, it's actually John Quincy Adams.
Really?
Yeah.
It's
not Quincy. That's a different pronunciation. It's Quincy.
Okay.
And so I make the mistake because after living there and all of that and being Quincy, now I say Quincy when it's Quincy. Right?
Okay.
But it's Quincy. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. A tidbit of
there we go.
local info.
Well, they were founded in August of 1890, so a very long time ago. But it was 1892 that they became the Squantum Yacht Club of Atlantic and avoided all of the Quincy
Yeah. Oh, yes.
debate. They're very family oriented. They do have like boat memberships, which is, what you would expect from a yacht club. But because they're so family oriented and community minded, they have social memberships and they have a whole social calendar. I'm like, that's kind of genius. Like, if you're new to Boston, go join the yacht club. And like, you have Friday night dinners and all these social events, and it's pretty affordable. I mean, the regular membership is under $700 a year. The social membership's under $300 a year.
That's not bad.
I mean, for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, go get them.
Yeah. Macaulay's Saloon.
Yeah, Macaulay Saloon.
That where Cobby's drinking and Mr. Kelly owns.
I feel like there is a place.
Oh, yeah. It's real.
Okay.
I could not find anything about the history or any of it, but I do know that they hosted the filming and that it's a real place in Quincy.
What town was that in?
Quincy.
It is in Quincy? Because I'm like, I think I know where that's at.
Okay.
Like,
it's like on a corner, and like it's just like it looked.
Yes, like I have a picture of that in my head. I'm like,
I'm like, oh yeah, that's fun.
Yeah,
well,
Macaulay's.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. It's funny.
Cobby spent time in Walpole. It was a prison.
Yeah, jail. He went to jail.
Yeah. And it's real, but under another name. Okay. So Walpole is kind of like was how people would refer to it commonly.
Okay.
Probably because it used to be called MCI Walpole. And it opened in 1956. Then they changed it to the Massachusetts Correctional Institution Cedar Junction. But it used to be called Walpole. So it was a real place. Serial killer Tony Costa was a prominent inmate, as was Albert DeSalvo, who is widely believed to be the Boston Strangler. He was there. But whether you call it MCI Cedar Junction or Walpole, as they did, it has discontinued operation. It no longer houses inmates as of June 2023 because Massachusetts had its lowest prison population in 35 years. Wow. Their public safety and security secretary, Terrence Reedy, said that they've been working hard to be a national leader in reducing incarceration. The strategic consolidation of resources is financially prudent and provides the opportunity to deepen investments in programs and services that support successful reentry and rehabilitation. I was like, oh, good job.
I mean, you have to close a prison. Well done.
Yes, well done indeed. Rory was concerned about what was safe to tell his therapist. And we've talked about this we've talked about it before, but it has been a minute.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it. Psych Central has an article. Basically, only extreme cases will they break confidentiality, particularly. So there are a few situations where your therapist might be legally required to break confidentiality. When they do that, it's the minimum amount of information they are allowed to share.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they're like, just like the absolute bare minimum. They can't say, how long you've been struggling with anything. Nothing that you tell them, basically, other than the fact that this person is in danger.
Yeah. Like, this person requires something.
Yeah. I have credible knowledge that this person needs protection from themselves or someone else.
Yes.
Basically. Very little. And, it's a danger to yourself, a danger to others. The abuse of children or dependent or elderly adults. So if you have a mentally challenged adult individual who's not elderly, who needs care and they're being abused, that has to be reported. But even then, it's like the bare minimum of what needs to be told to police. And if your therapist, they have some discretion as far as what they think. If you think they think that you might be a danger to yourself, but the actual threat is very low, they are not going to report that.
Right. Like, if you're talking about suicidal ideation, right? Because it's good and healthy to talk about it. They're not going to just go report you.
Right.
They have to make a professional judgment that you are actually not only suicidal, but also have a plan and have the means to do it in a way that says this is now an imminent situation.
Right.
Or the talk about like, you're not just going to get reported because you go in there and you're going, I'm going to kill him, right? Like, no, it's okay. Yeah. You're going to talk and say more about that. And then you're going to talk out of it and be all that. Because, most people are not actually suicidal, but we do kind of say those things sometimes. And we feel like anger and all of those. So don't worry. You're not going to get reported just because you're honest about like your feelings about it. But
your frustration.
You would have to be showing like,
I have a gun.
Yeah. Like,
and I know where they work and what time they get off. Yeah. And I'm going to go shoot them in the parking lot.
And if you if you look resolute to do this is a problem. So, yeah.
So domestic violence, again, only if it's a child, somebody under the age of 18, an elderly adult, or somebody who is otherwise not able to stand up for themselves. If there's domestic abuse, like in a marital relationship, they're not going to report that.
Not so much. Only if they see that the person is devising a plan that's potentially like fatal or intentional to a certain degree. Yeah, that's where a little discretion comes in.
Right. But oftentimes you don't have the person who's doing the abuse who's doing the talking to a therapist. It's very often the victim.
Yes.
And so instead of reporting that, they're going to help them connect that abused person with resources to help them get out of that situation.
Because that's true. A lot of people might be afraid to go in and have therapy about it because they're afraid that if they say, hey, my spouse is abusing me, they think that that's going to get reported and it will be then worse for them. No. No, you can go and have confidentiality as the victim in that situation, as a consenting adult, and they will just simply help you have the courage to report this person and get to safety. So,
yeah. If your crimes that you admit to a therapist are in the past, they keep those confidential. And even then, there's discretion in that. Like, does it concern people's immediate safety? Yeah, then they're probably going to report that. If it's like not going to harm anybody, I mean, I wouldn't like go blab at it. But you're probably okay. But also, like, don't do crime. Also, go ask your therapist to help you
not do that.
Yeah, figure out other ways to get $32,480.
Yeah, or maybe ask your therapist to refer you to a lawyer because they can actually keep that secret.
That's true. Let's see. The American Psychological Association has some general points that psychologists are obligated to protect confidential information and take reasonable precautions to do so. They should talk with their clients about what their limitations are so that they don't divulge anything that must be reported if they don't want it to be. Psychologists have to have permission to record your sessions. They suggest that they only write down the minimal amount of information so that if they do get subpoenaed and have to turn over records, there's minimal information there. This is why I wouldn't be able to do it. I don't have a good enough memory. I have to write stuff down.
So a lot of therapists, for people's knowledge, they will, on the official record, right, very clinically diagnose this, that, and the other, very minimal.
Right.
They may keep personal notes.
Okay.
Those personal notes are personal.
Okay.
Those are
so they don't have to.
They don't have to turn those over
that's
if
smart.
they get subpoenaed for records because those are their own personal to-do lists.
Oh, okay.
They're their own personal journals.
Oh,
and so a
okay.
lot of times that's why a lot of therapists still actually write
by hand
because it's their little journal, and then that's smart. That's separate, but it allows them to write down the things that they are actually hearing that are threads that they might find useful in continuing your therapy and all of that, but they don't need to turn that over.
That's great. Smart. Yeah. I mean, it's almost like psychologists are like people with doctorate degrees and they're smart.
Like, oh, Although I am sure at some point some lawyer had to tell them, hey, you know what? You could do it this way.
Yeah, write it by hand and call it a journal.
Yeah, and then don't put all that into the computer.
There you
right?
go. I mentioned we were going to get to this runoff election.
Oh, yes. Say more about
so
this.
I'm like, he said there was a foregone conclusion that he was going to win this runoff election. I was like, what are even the circumstances in which you would have a runoff election?
Yeah.
So it turns out there's only 3 states that will require a runoff election if for a statewide office that require you to have the majority of the vote. And that's Georgia, Mississippi, and Louisiana. So if you're having an election like this, you don't necessarily need to have a majority of the vote. You just need to have a plurality of the vote.
Okay,
So if there are 3 candidates and one of them gets 10%, then the other 2 in order for there to be a runoff would have to get both exactly 45% of the vote.
Right.
So that means that these 2 candidates, they had to get exactly the same amount of the vote against with a third candidate spoiling it. If one of them had gotten 45% of the vote, one of them had gotten 40% of the vote, and then there was a spoiler candidate that came in and got that 15%, then the one who got the 45% of the vote would have been the winner. Right. So that means they had to get exactly the same amount. So I don't know in what scenario he thought that it was an absolute foregone conclusion that he didn't need to worry about it. Obviously he was corrupt. He thought he could buy his way into this.
That's what it is.
It's so unlikely that there would have been a runoff election
in Boston
to begin with. But that he should have been more concerned about it. It just seems like they were kind of playing fast and loose with the idea of a runoff election. I think because they wanted to set it at a different time than when the elections were being held, like the time of year they wanted it to be, I don't know, it was January or something. They wanted it to be January instead of November or whenever it was. They just didn't want it to be in November when the election would have taken place.
Right, I guess. I don't know.
Or they wanted this to be the only election that was happening.
I think that's probably more the case.
Right. But it's
that it was just about the mayor, because it was the mayor of Boston. So did they not have do we know what their thing is? Like what their regulations are for the runoff?
Okay, so we took a moment to try and figure this out. Actually, it was more than a moment. Because the whole Boston mayor electoral situation is a mess. So we don't know if it was actually a runoff or just the final election that they're talking about in the movie.
Right.
Because evidently there's a zillion runoffs. Yeah. So you could theoretically call the actual election, the final election, the final runoff.
It's like a sports competition.
Right,
it's like,
because they're not party affiliated?
No, it's like nonpartisan.
Okay.
That we know. We know they have a mayor council situation, so it's a nonpartisan. And we know, I went to the Boston Charter and I was reading that they have these preliminary elections, and it's basically to put people on the ballot. And from that perspective, it looks like a plurality. Like they have to get, it's the top whatever. And then then there's a cutoff. Like you have to get so many votes. And then from there, it keeps whittling down to the final 2. Well, that's just the last runoff. Right?
But that's not how it seemed in the movie.
Yeah, because they kept saying it was a runoff, but it was actually the
maybe
last election. Maybe they're the same.
Maybe they're the same.
Or maybe they just, as locals,
call it that.
Because,
but I don't know. But that's not the way runoff is used in almost anywhere else in the U.S. Is that when they talk about runoff elections, this is not how
What's
it all
funny
works.
is I asked Google a lot of different ways, and I actually ended up asking it in a very inappropriate way to tell me how does Boston elect their mayor? And nada. Like nothing. It resulted in nothing. Wikipedia even, really, there's no like, this is how it happens. This is what they do. None of that. Boston, okay, listen, after people go and have Mike's pastry, now I need more comments. I need somebody to give me an infographic. Tell me like I'm 5.
Right. Yes. Explain to me your mayor electoral process like I just learned to read.
Yes, please, somebody. Because I'm going to tell you, I ran a political campaign in Massachusetts.
Yes.
Now, it wasn't Boston. It was Quincy to P-Town, 10th District Congressional, like U.S. Congressional. And I still can't figure it out.
Yeah.
So somebody's got to help us. So, yeah, it was
so
weird.
If you know, hit
Tell
us up
us.
on the socials.
Yeah.
Tell us. We would like to know.
Yeah, because then maybe we'll understand the movie better.
I give Jackie a look. That's why she's laughing. I'm like, I just don't know if that small bit of information, as interesting or as vital as it might actually be, is really going to make much of a difference in this story.
Like, I don't care anymore. No, I did it. We watched it. It's over. Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
And they mentioned that often hockey legend Bobby Orr memorabilia is faked.
Yeah.
They are correct, according to careerjerseys.com.
Okay.
Yeah, he's one of the 100 greatest NHL players of all time. The Bruins historic 100. Yes, a lot of replicas get passed off, and their suggestions are do your research, make sure that whatever it is that you're buying makes sense within the confines of his career.
Yeah.
Like if it's, too early or too late and it's signed or it looks off or whatever, like that's a big red flag. Have it authenticated, compare prices. If it's something super cheap, and you're like, oh, this is so cheap for a Bobby Orr signed hockey stick.
Yeah.
It's probably not authentic.
Maybe
You're
not.
probably getting ripped off. And also understanding the history of the item. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is for your serious collectors.
Yeah.
Sometimes these things get passed down through generations in a family, and then you get to a family member who doesn't care, doesn't see it as a part of their family history or whatever.
And they sell it.
And they're ready to sell it. They're ready to cash in this piece of history so that somebody else might enjoy it. Knowing that kind of pass down can be helpful as far as authentication goes. True. Yeah, and trust your instincts. If you feel like it's too good to be true.
Probably is.
All of the sources that we use to inform our discussion here on Killer Fun Podcast can be found on our social media. Join us on Facebook at Killer Fun Podcast, exploring the intersection of crime and entertainment. You can find us on Twitter at Killer Fun Pod, or you can send us an email at killerfunpodcast@gmail.com, and I'd be happy to share a link to whatever information you're looking for. We love to hear from you. You might learn a little something too. Psychology break.
Yeah.
So Cobby was right to tell Rory that time with his son was more important than money.
Yes.
I mean, like, dude, pay your child support as best you can, or go to the court and, claim hardship or whatever and deal with that.
Yes.
So you don't go to jail. You don't want to go to prison because you know who that's going to help? Absolutely nobody.
Right.
But your kids really do want your time more than your money. Parentmap.com had a gentleman who wrote a blog about how he unexpectedly, through a permanent change of station with the military, had a lot more time with his family. And it was like he had a month where partly they were doing things to move, but then they also had a little more time off than they would normally have. And fathers in the U.S. spend an average of 85 minutes a day with their family, and that includes weekends. So it's only a little over an hour. So you've got, in our patriarchal U.S., this is often what happens. So it's not a lot of time during the week, but he said you can't purchase time and put a price on the memories you missed out on. All you can do is make more memories. So, he found it he planned all these big things, but then found like the time that really meant the most to the kids didn't cost him anything.
Right. Yeah.
It was just being there. Like he played rock, paper, scissors with his kids and they got to decide what they wanted to do. And what did they want to do? They not only wanted to go to the beach, they wanted dad to play with them at the beach.
Aww.
Dad, play with me at the beach.
Sweet.
So, I mean, go to the practice.
Yes.
Even if you, for whatever reason, can't pay your child support, go and do the things. Be in their life.
Yep.
Because ultimately, you're going to have to pay that money because it's important.
Yeah.
But ultimately, they need a parent more than they need the money.
Yes.
Assuming, of course, that they have their basic needs met.
Well, that's true too. I guess it could be flipped.
Yeah.
In some situations.
Right. But
Clearly,
he seems like a decent gentleman, other than the fact that he decided he had to,
Yeah. And also, his kid is playing ice hockey. He has his basic needs met.
Yes.
So
right. Yes. Because ice hockey is not an inexpensive sport by any. No. Even up there where it's easier to keep the ice frozen.
Yeah. Right. Even then, everything about it is so expensive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So we mentioned disinhibited social engagement disorder. That's what Dr. Rivera said she thought Cobby had. Yeah. Basically talkative, incessant. It's primarily a diagnosis associated with children, which is why she specified that it was adult. And basically children naturally are kind of wary of strangers and people who are affected by DSED, D-S-E-D, disinhibited social engagement disorder, are basically like the most outgoing people you've ever met. They're not afraid of strangers. They're not afraid to ask strangers inappropriate questions. They're extremely sociable. They have minimal social boundaries, according to Psych Central, all of these things. For children, that's can be a very dangerous situation because they will go with anybody and get in anybody's car. They're not concerned. They don't have a healthy amount of fear of strangers. In adults, it seems like it, at least in Cobby's case, it's just incessant talking and really no inhibition about the kind of questions he's going to ask. But in some ways it makes him very funny and a little endearing. But also annoying.
But then he takes a lot of liberties with his friends.
Right.
That's assume that there's no boundaries or that he can go here and he can go there and he can whatever,
Yeah, and it's a trauma or stress related disorder according to the DSM-5. It usually means that they didn't have a solid caregiver foundation when they were young, but it's not caused by being placed in daycare or put in a crib and left to cry for a brief amount of time. Some people will say that that's not true, but helping the children feel like they're in a stable environment where they're loved and cared for is really what goes as far as treatment. And it's an attachment disorder.
It is a bit of an attachment. And I wonder how often spectrum disorders might play a role, or there's some sort of misdiagnosis between the two.
There we go.
That somebody might think they are on the spectrum for things, but actually it's more of this situation.
Okay.
Right? Because with any kind of spectrum, but talk about autism, like there's a decrease in the ability to read other people's social cues.
Right.
Right. So that because they can't read the social cues, read the behaviors, and read the norms, that's why a lot of people with autism might come across that way. Like they continue to talk. They continue to say the facts over it. You could just open the door about something they're interested in, and then it's like they don't stop, or they just won't leave, or they're talking too close to you. So there's certain things that I could see like a bit of an overlap, or like, I don't know. That'd be interesting to find out, but maybe you know.
Yeah, maybe sometimes they're a little more of one or the other, and they're just put in the wrong box, or maybe the boxes are like the Venn diagrams, and there's
like a little
there's this little overlap here, and you get a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and you end up in the middle right here.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's interesting because you know, he obviously just didn't care about social cues, but could totally read them. So that for me kind of makes it visualizing it the difference.
Sure. Okay.
But who knows?
Yeah. Real life. So Cobby teases Rory that it's a little late for a career change. I'm like,
hush.
Okay. So for what it's worth, Matt Damon is 53.
I know.
And Casey Affleck is 49.
Yeah.
I mean, I get that he had been like in the quote unquote business
that's true.
for longer, and this was Rory's first time. But according to lots of places, it's really never too late to change your career, because it's never too late to learn something new.
That's right.
Psychology Today encourages you to consider it, because they have, research that 90% of career changers reported feeling happier and less stressed and overall successful. 50% see an increase in pay. Often when you're doing a late stage career change, pay is maybe not your top concern. It may be, but it may not be. But half of people get more pay.
Wow. It's pretty good.
72% report feeling like a new person after their career change. It's overall really good. And the Harvard Business Review also agrees. That's right. That just 27% of college graduates have jobs that are even closely related to their major. 53% of people who quit their job in 2021 changed to a different career field entirely. And they found that people who changed career after the age of 45, they were 82% successful in their change of career, and 87% were happy or very happy that they made the change.
That's great.
Yes. Now, I wouldn't say make a career change he went from the Marines to a floor refinisher to now crime. I wouldn't say crime is really a good career change.
Yeah, no, don't break bad.
No.
Come on. You saw the series. This does not end well for you.
No. No, it does not.
Even if you're good at it.
Yeah, exactly. And Walter White was so good at it.
So good at it.
But Pope Francis was a technician in a food science laboratory.
Oh.
Before.
That's so cool.
That's right. Ina Garten, the barefoot Contessa, before she was the barefoot Contessa, did nuclear energy policy and management and budgeting at the White House.
That's amazing, right?
I mean, she had a whole different thing and to remember that your life is an evolution.
Yes. Things
What's
keep going.
right for you at 30 won't be right for you at 60. It's okay to do something different. So Mark Choi was unexpectedly the winner of the mayoral race.
Yes.
As complicated as it seems.
Whatever happened there.
But it does kind of mirror real life. In 2021, Michelle Wu was the first woman and the first person of color to be elected the mayor of Boston.
Yay!
Now, there was a woman and a woman of color who served as mayor when the previous mayor was pulled into public service at a federal level.
Okay.
So they did have, before Michelle Wu, they did have another woman who is black serve as mayor.
Yes.
But this is the first elected one.
That's pretty great.
So it's pretty great. I thought it was, I'm like, okay, good. So we may not understand the whole runoff situation, and they use runoff fast and loose in Boston in ways that don't make sense to people outside of Boston. But I do appreciate that the movie was we're going to lean into this Asian American
That's true. They did. They modeled after. And I want to, honestly, I want to be on the fantasy team for that. Can you,
Sure.
is there a fantasy team for
know.
the runoff elections in Boston?
I don't know.
So I
It
think every
seems
4
like
years we all should create fantasy teams.
There we go. Is it 4 years or maybe
4 years it said.
Oh, okay, good.
It said
okay,
4 years. I read the Boston charter today.
Because some mayoral elections are 6 years.
But there was 4 years according to the charter,
Okay.
unless there's an amendment I didn't get to. And
No, it's all right.
admittedly, I was
We're done.
perusing.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah, we're done with that. So Mayor Michelli, corrupt.
Yeah.
Also mirrors real life. So The Hill had an article in August of 2023 about American mayors who were convicted of crimes.
Oh, great.
And here's the thing. Most of these people, it did not significantly impact their political career.
Oh my God.
I'm just gonna briefly go over this.
Yeah, just read the list.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So Boston Mayor James Michael Curley was charged on mail fraud, even while he was under indictment for that one fourth term as mayor.
Wow. Awesome. Come on, people.
That was a while ago.
Yeah.
It was 1945. Then there was Providence, Rhode Island Mayor Buddy Cianci, kidnapping, racketeering. I mean, yeah. He kidnapped a contractor in 1984 he thought was having an affair with his wife and beat him with a piece of wood. And then,
wow.
then he pleaded no contest and resigned. So, okay, good. But then, so that was in 1984. In 1991, he won another election. And then in 2002, found himself under federal corruption investigation once again and had to resign again. And then, lest you think that it's only men, Baltimore Mayor Catherine Pugh was charged with tax evasion and conspiracy. She wrote books called Healthy Holly, and she sold them to the University of Maryland's Medical Center so that they could distribute them to children. And she, for a long time, said that those were the only book sales, except that she sold books to other institutions that were doing business with the city.
Oh.
So she was trying to evade taxes by selling. It was basically a way to take bribes.
Yes. Yes. Multiple. That could leverage you in several different ways. Do better, people.
I mean, just don't do crime. I know it's so attractive and it seems easy. You're probably going to get caught.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not easy.
It's not easy.
And don't get good at it.
No.
It still doesn't turn out well for you. Okay.
So Cobby, in preparation for what seems like the inevitable, extols the virtues of prison.
Yeah.
Which was very funny. And one of those was not having to pick out your outfit.
Yeah.
Like Albert Einstein.
Yes.
He's like, Einstein's really smart. He must be onto something when he didn't have to pick out his clothes.
This is a trend in the business world.
So Albert Einstein did this, obviously, famous physicist, had different versions of the same gray suit because he did not want to think about what he was going to wear.
Yeah.
Also, Steve Jobs,
yes.
very famously, his mock turtleneck, blue jeans, New Balance sneakers. Thank you, Forbes, for this article. And that there's actual research that shows that the act of making these decisions degrades your ability to make further decisions. So if you can... they're literally onto something that if you have to make this little choice about what to wear each day, it makes it harder to make the bigger choices and the more important choices.
I'm going to be anecdotal here.
Okay.
It's true. And I think I am speaking for myself, but there's probably other ladies out there who are very similar to me. I have I have the things to deal with. You
Yes,
know?
the
girls.
the chesticles.
Yes, the chesticles, the girls. So the girls are here and they have to be dealt with.
Right.
And if you wear bras, you know you cannot wear the same kind of bra every single day because then you're getting the digs in the same places, and you gotta vary that up. And then also they don't make clothes for people with boobs. Right. So you have to wear a different sort of support. You know, it's a different floor they have to sit on.
Right.
Depending on the outfit.
Right.
Do they need to be hoisted to, the 15th
to fill things
floor?
out. Right.
Yeah. Or just to fit in the armholes, right? You know, or is it okay to be, at the lobby level? And that's okay. And you have to make all of these decisions because you have to vary it or else you actually end up in more pain. Right. And then you wear out the clothes more.
Right.
It's just, I've actually like tried something similar to this and it's just,
No, it's hard for you.
But what I have done is instead I have trends. This is what I'm doing for these several days. And when it's time to really change that for like my back hurts because of whatever, then I'm in that mode for a while.
Right.
So that
That's
at
fair.
least I've taken some of the decision away. But it is true. It drains my brain. The other day I had a whole morning of that.
Of decisions and feeling.
Yep. I had to work with a shirt and I was trying to get the undergarments to do right with the shirt.
Right.
And it was just so that it wasn't laying right. And, because it takes time. So I put the time into it because this shirt was nice and loose on a very 108-degree day.
Yeah.
And once it's right, it's right.
Yeah.
Right. And then I'm very comfortable for the rest of the day.
Right.
So I was like, here's the work I'm going to put into it.
Right.
And then I promptly got lotion on it.
Oh, jeez.
And it was a silk shirt. So,
Yeah,
that's not
so it's
recoverable.
done. Yeah, it's got to be washed.
I had to go through the whole thing again. You can't just throw on another shirt.
No.
To do the whole thing again. It's a nightmare.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Well, this is why I have streamlined my evening meals too.
Oh, yes, that's another thing.
We do, taco salad Tuesdays and fajita Mondays and whatever's left casserole Wednesdays.
Yes.
I have very much, it's like comforting to my kids.
Yeah.
Because they kind of know what to expect and they look forward to certain meals quite a lot. But also, I don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
I sit down and make my grocery list, and I have far fewer decisions I need to make about that grocery list.
Right. And yet you've still gotten ahead.
Yes.
So it's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, anytime you can streamline it, man.
Yeah.
It's true.
All right. To end on a lighter note. Not that we haven't done
Yeah, because
fairly light, but,
boobs are heavy.
But yeah. What other quirky Einstein behaviors might we be able to learn from? Now, I'm going to say some of these are man things.
Oh, yeah.
And some of these are not possible for all of us. Now, this BBC article starts out by saying that about 40% of what distinguishes the very, very intelligent from the less intelligent is in adulthood is environment.
Okay.
So what we're doing really does impact our brains, but also brilliant scientific minds are very unusual. They think things differently. So Einstein reportedly slept for about 10 hours every day.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's either by biology or simply the way your life is structured. That might not be possible for most people.
Yeah.
I mean, trust me, if I could sleep 10 hours, I would love it.
Yep.
It would be great.
That's at once.
Yeah.
It's not
And
a
then
nap.
and then he did take naps.
Oh, in addition?
But in addition to that, but they were it's very funny. He had this very silly way of doing it where he would sit down and he'd hold a spoon over a plate.
Okay.
And he would allow himself to fall asleep. And as soon as he fell asleep, he'd drop the spoon onto the plate and it would wake him up. And that was all the nap he needed.
Okay.
Now, it would take me a while to get used to sleeping with the spoon high enough that it would make a clatter and that I would not sleep through it. But whatever.
Yeah.
And they did find when they asked volunteers to play a number game that and then they would ask them to come back and play it 8 hours later. Those who slept in between did do much better.
Sleep is important.
It's so important. And they found that it's called spindle activity in your sleep, and normal night sleep, you'll have a lot of this. So theoretically, the more of those you have, they found that to be a predictor of intelligence. So theoretically, if you sleep more, you're going to have more of those.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because the hard thing is like it's like cart before the horse thing, or no, that's not the right cliche.
Okay.
Chicken and egg.
Oh, okay. Yes.
It's a chicken and egg thing because, is the spindle activity during REM sleep or whatever so heightened because they got more to organize.
Right.
Versus like somebody who everything's in place.
That's right.
Or is it the other way around? Like the opportunity for more organization drives the opportunity to take in more info. Oh, no. Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't know.
But we don't totally know. But
no,
I like the prescription to sleep.
Yeah, like sleep more.
Why not? I feel like that's the takeaway here.
There you go. Daily walks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, like it's a matter of being able to able to go and do that. But they're good for your fitness, but they also have found that it can boost memory, creativity, problem solving, going for a walk, particularly outside. It engages a different part of your brain.
And I think you could, if you can't walk, I think you can find an alternative that hits the need.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. If you're just like outside time, probably.
Outside time, something.
Yeah. Carbohydrates. They're good.
We need carbs.
Your brain likes simple sugars. And, so it said that anecdotally, Einstein's favorite food was spaghetti.
Okay.
But really, like, the small amount of spaghetti that gives you the brain boost is smaller than an average portion. And so, yes, it needs simple sugars, but don't fear if you, for whatever reason, need to be on a low-carb diet, that you will have a reduced spatial memory, but it's short term. Okay. Once your body adjusts to this low carb diet, basically everything goes back to normal. Your body learns how to interact with it. So you may have a little forgetfulness when you start it. So if you have to do it for health reasons or whatever, don't worry.
You'll get normalized.
Yes, you will get normalized. Now, one thing they don't recommend is that Einstein was a pipe smoker. We don't recommend that.
No.
But it does not necessarily mean that you're inhibiting your intelligence.
No, but what it is it's a kind of a like a beacon. What that was a de-stressor.
Sure.
This is why when we say things about like rock stars, like living after they've dropped so much acid and did all these things and was all that, and we're like, they're still smoking. Why in the world? Why are they? Because it de-stresses them. We're discounting the power of regulating your stress and being, in less misery with certain things. So you can be perfectly smoke-free, drug-free, alcohol-free. But if you are stressing and working so hard to make sure that you're perfect, you are not going to receive that outcome.
There you go.
So I don't recommend these vices, but you've got to also find a way to de-stress because stress is like almost like an emotional carcinogen. I mean, and it'll pull you down.
Oh, there you go. Well, and in the 50s, we didn't realize
we didn't
how
know.
awful it was. But in 1955, Einstein told Life magazine, the important thing is to not stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existing. Yay. So you don't have to be as smart as Einstein to get a lot of enjoyment out of life or to be productive in any way. Just be questioning. You'll be happier overall.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Next time.
Yay.
So AMC and Netflix have a deal now. And so some of the shows that I have missed since I got rid of cable are now available to me, and I'm very excited about it. So we're going to visit Dark Winds.
Yeah, and I've not seen this.
I have not either, but it is about the 1970s Navajo police officers who are looking to solve a double murder.
That's going to be great.
I mean, if nothing else, I think really indigenous stories are so important.
They are.
So, and I'm really excited because the main actor in Dark Winds was also in Reservation Dogs.
Okay.
Which was delightful and weird in so many ways.
Thing.
But it was a really strange but interesting and a very slice of life and like sort of fun but also weird and also hard, but very typical. So I love that these kind of stories are actually being told in honest ways and portrayed by actors who are related to those groups. So I appreciate it. And so we're going to check that out.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah. Thank you so much for listening. We know you make a choice when you listen to us. We don't just come on the radio. You download us. Tell a friend. It's way more fun than when you can listen with a friend. Rate and review wherever you get podcasts. And until next time, be safe, be kind, and wash your hands.
Da, da, da.